Thank you for your warm welcome, and thanks for a very highfalutin title, Freedom Fighter. Wow. I'm just a Barbadian who loves Barbados and will do anything to protect her. But thank you for your commendation. I think you were talking to one of your other supporters from Brooklyn. That's Walter Eady. He told me
Walter
about
Edie.
Walter Eady. That's his name. Um,
Walter Edie. If you're listening, he watches in the mornings, I think. But Walter Edie, I want to say a big shout out. I hope it's okay to call your name,
I'm sure he
but
wouldn't mind.
I don't think he's going to mind. Thank you, Walt. He's been in broadcasting forever. And yourself, and thank you for just the support and the mentorship in that particular area. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
But my time was more spent in print media, newspapers, magazines than broadcast. Now, but I get in communication, the public communications. I appreciate that. But before I get into my topic proper, I just want to give a little context to what is happening or what has happened with John Roger. Here him speaking out his hermit today. It reminded you talking about history.
Yes,
I'm asking myself, is he another Dean Harold Critchlow?
I thought of that today. Go ahead.
For those who are too young to know that there was a time before now, before the change of government in 1976, when Prime Minister Barrow was in full control and at his height, Dean Harold Critchlow took issue with his actions, his statements, and every Sunday or every first Sunday, the media would wait to hear a sermon from Dean Harold Critchlow because he would take the government to task time after time after time, and so he was the bell ringer. He was the John the Baptist for 19 before the change of government in 1970s. He paved it. He opened. And he himself was vilified. He was cussed. He was all called. He got threatened uh, because he was defying the government, called the government to account in a way that had not been seen before. And he's still alive today. I think a few weeks ago he turned 90, so he's still doing very well. But you know what was also important? He did not only speak, but the content of his presentations, the tone of his whole demeanor had a certain amount of gravitas to it that the people took very. He resonated with the public. He resonated with the higher standards of Barbadian language. I think that is what Senator Rogers is doing now because he himself is quite adept and skillful with his words. So he's in good company. But if I can, are you ready for me to go into my topic proper? Because I
Yes,
know time
thank
is
you. Thank you so much. I was trying to remember him. I was remembering today as well. So I'm so
right,
happy
right,
you brought him up. Yes,
right.
sir. Yes.
Yeah. Tonight I'm going to talk about the title is How and Why.
Hmm.
How and why Mia Mottley might have self-damaged her image as supreme leader. How and why Mia Mottley might have self-damaged her image as supreme leader. So let me put it in context. So let me define what we have as supreme leader. If you can remember that definition for me in slide one,
Yes,
Marcia.
it's gonna come up very, very soon. In the
Right.
meantime, guys, I want you to like and share. Trust me, you're going to enjoy this segment with Mr. Murray this evening. I saw a little bit of what he sent ahead of time, folks. Take a moment as we're getting the slides ready to put up on the screen. Just like and share and subscribe. How and why Mia Motley might have self-damaged her image of a supreme
As
being.
supreme
That's
leader.
what supreme being. That's what we're talking about
No, no,
tonight.
it's supreme leader. Sorry, supreme leader.
Supreme leader.
Leader. Yes, supreme
Supreme
leader.
leader.
Supreme leader. No
Mhm.
problem. I know these supreme leader. And want me? I'll read it for you to save time.
Yes.
Um, a supreme leader is defined as quote a powerful figure with unchallenged authority. A
Hmm.
powerful figure with unchallenged authority. And nobody could say that. Up until very recently, it would seem Prime Minister Morley and her team were wanting to believe that she was unchallenged or even unchallengeable. But
Mm-hmm.
now I think we've begun, recent events would make me believe, having been part of and studied and written about Barbados his political history for such a long time, I think we begin to see the cracks in that image. And she, like I said, might have very well contributed to it uh, by her by her actions, by her press statement, both the more the press the style and the content and the comments of her press statement. And therefore I'm saying that supreme leader also in the context of the next slide, which talks about Motley. I'm sorry, please, please. Prime Minister Motley can easily be described as those who study personality types. And I would have done some of the studies years ago when I was at Ryerson Institute. I did a course and certification too in uh, something called the psychology of human relations and communications media, right? So it involved psychology, social psychology, all those disciplines. And one of the things with the type of personality that so she's concerned, she would, according to literature, and this is not pseudoscience, it is serious concepts and practices and definitions that are used all over the world uh, to describe um, personality types. Okay, she would be easily described as female, as an alpha female. You can be an alpha A, alpha at the beginning, male or female. She could be called an alpha female with the following characteristics. When you get them, you can supplement what I say. The following characteristics of an alpha female will include dominance, assertiveness, ambition, great self-confidence, faking it until you make it, never running down oneself in front of others, and apologizing only when absolutely necessary. Those are the, from all my readings, I look at various classifications, I
Can
pull
you
out
read
them.
it one more time? Because we don't yet have, we're having
Okay,
some challenges with the slides.
no
Just
problem.
read it again,
The
please, so
following
we can
characters are said to outline and define an alpha female, which for personality type, uh, Prime Minister Motley was said to represent. It would the following characteristics include dominance, assertiveness, ambition, great self-confidence, faking it until you make it, and I think I will talk about that later on too. Never putting down oneself in front of others, and apologize only when necessary. I believe that in all fairness to my definitions, fair-minded Bard will say that it does fit Prime Minister Modi, if not 30, very closely. And and then there's also, and when you add to that, you add to the question of one-upmanship. And I say one-upmanship because I think the question of one-upmanship, and I will define that for you in a second, would have played in Prime Minister Morley's mind and made her decide to call to deliver that public address to the nation on the resignation, etc., so quickly. That was the
Mm.
first thing because you're never to be seen, you're not in control. And
Ah.
one-upmanship is defined as added, include an attitude of one-upmanship, which involves a sense of techniques of and practice of gaining a feeling of superiority over others. One-upmanship, a sense of techniques of and practice of gaining and feeling a sense of superiority over others. And if it, so, one would remember that in Prime Minister Morley's only live one-on-one interview given to Barbadians in 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
almost 6 years now, almost 7 years. In July 2018, July 25, almost 7 years, was with David Ellis in
Okay.
July 2018. And when Mr. Ellis, the very seasoned and very able and outstanding journalist that he's always been, when he pressed her on a number of on a number of points, on at least two occasions, she said, "David, you trying to indulge in one-upmanship with me." All he was doing his job with her, trying to get further information and clarification about, and she resorted to, You're indulging and one-upmanship, meaning you're trying to prove that you are better at this thing than I am. But no, but she must be. So that I think that is what motivated that hastily presented, uh, that hastily presented to the public the day where her cabinet changes and on Wednesday, last Wednesday, for last Wednesday. And let me tell you why why I say that. Because when you look at the picture, the physical picture, if you have it, of she and four of her five senior ministers, if you look at the picture, neither she nor them look cool, composed, calm. She looked rattled. She don't look settled. She was not her bouncy, ebullient, self-confident self. They all look very bedraggled and beaten and almost depressed and worried. That is
Mm.
my perception. If you can bring that picture up again, Dave, let the public judge for themselves if I'm injecting anything that they have not seen. So that, and I would think that that is a result of her calling such a thing. That is what in such a hasty time folks thinking the truth. Because I don't think that if you look at the picture, look at it. Do they look happy but confident on top of the situation? No,
Except
tell
for
me.
Guy Smiley. Except
Yeah,
for Guy Smiley.
but he smiled. I know that he smiled when the Prime Minister talking about the removal of Corey Lane. He smiled then because, in all fairness, I always depend on that. He was the one who refused to entertain Corey Lane in his office. That's why Corey Lane had to go elsewhere with the peace treaty, etc. And Corey Lane, reported not to Attorney General Marshall as had been intended, but he had to report to the Prime Minister. In all fairness, the Attorney General Marshall said last week, very same week, that the whole project was a mistake. A mistake was made, not by him, because he stood his ground, and he stood for principle, not have people who had questionable legal backgrounds and histories to be part and parcel of it. It would have demolished and demoted, denuded the seriousness, the impeccable, where law is handled, is supposed to obtain in that. So I defend him for it. He smiled when she said that Corey Lane was gone. With all due respect to Corey Lane, but he and the reason why he also didn't look up, the reason why the Prime Minister called this, why she was rattled, she had, why if she is first of all, the appointment of senators on the government side and the appointment of ministers and parliament side are the sole responsibility of the Prime Minister. Her job responsibility. She could not consent, but she is the one who signs off, who makes it official. She would have therefore chosen Dr. Hinge. She would have chosen for MP, foreign minister, had a lot of ministers, Minister Corey Lane. So why would she have? That is her responsibility. And we know the Prime Minister as a type A female, assertive, dominant. She likes to be in the spotlight. So why would she? This is not her normal style. Why would she have to have a backup for a job that is hers and hers alone? Right? Not only that, she two in the people in the background are two of the people who would have taken her down as leading officer in 2010. Senator Walker and A.G. Marshall. They were part of the coup that they threw her in 2010. I was not, because I was part of the planning and the plotting and the execution, all done within the law. So why would she bring that to the thing? Unless she is worried, because unless her image of it would have been damaged. And don't forget, this took place all after a severe testing, a number of severely testing exchanges during the estimates, when Deputy Prime Minister Santi Bradshaw was in the chairing the president for her ministry, between Marshall Carroll, dead Minister Marshall Carroll, and Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Transport or Works Santi Bradshaw. You could sense, you could almost taste and feel the tension, the hostility, there was something in the air between it. Then there was also another testy exchange between Minister Ryan Strawn and Sante Bradshaw over things like allocation of roads, fixing of roads, street legs, and what. And so yeah, those were the two main ones. But it was noticeable, you could not miss it. It told you that something that this was not a happy bunch internally. And I was told afterwards that one of the reasons why some other Christchurch MPs were very uncomfortable with the whole debate about roads was that one Christchurch MP was supposed to have gotten 9 roads fixed, 9 roads, and the others little or nothing. And that's why Minister Straw was so upset about.
I wonder who's that Christchurch MP. That sounds like the Minister of Culture, the Minister in the
No,
Minister.
no, 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 no. I understand. It's one. No, not south. This is more to the east, from what I understand. More to the east of Christchurch. All right, but they tell me that the whole question of the allocation of resources. Tell me the whole question of the attitude exhibited in allocating or speaking about thing has been a source of unhappiness among cabinet members because of the performance of that. And maybe that was also some of the angst that Marcia Carroll felt that might have led to her resigning.
Yes.
And right, but I don't think that they might having resigned. I think the Prime Minister, if she had really been on top of the situation, if she was not uncharacteristically rattled. And remember, in politics, in business, in life, timing is one of the most important things that could determine the acceptance, the projection, the message, and the messenger. Timing. And there was no reason why she could not have made internal arrangements to have somebody act in Marshall Call's place, and let a few days pass and deal with it. But no, she rushed to do that just to show that she's the one-upmanship, that she's supreme leader. Then added that with the haste in which she removed Crystal Haynes from the government side. Then I questioned her political judgment because it was clear that from the very start, it was an outburst of public sympathy and support for Crystal Haynes. And when you listen to the almost prophetic, the prophecy that Senator Rogers gave when he pleaded that she not be interfered, not be touched before she was, as though she and other people said, well, I wait to see now who the Prime Minister do it. She can't get rid of that. And then she played right into that hand by taking out only because, from my vision, from my view, from my experience, from my studies, because she had to show that you can't talk. I mean, here was a question of, she was not a cabinet minister. If she had been a cabinet minister, where there's collective responsibility, and even though you might agree, you either don't vote, or once you are part of the consensus, you are all collectively part of the group's responsibility. She was just a backbench member of the government side. That had been bypassed or overlooked as a young, vigorous senator who wants to make an impact for whatever. But she was right. She was quite legitimate and quite within her conscience and her right as a citizen of Barbados to speak at conference. But she rushed and did that, which compounded the whole situation. She could have waited to, but she could have put an arrangement. She's going to speak at the budget in a few days' time, and then in her presence announce a reconfiguration of the government, of her benches, rather than deal with it in such a muddled way. All right, and then there's the ex-Minister Lane. Minister Lane, or before that, Minister Carroll, if you know, she spoke about when principles do not align. PRINCIPLES, principles means standards and values and integrity. I mean, that is a chilling statement. That's a damning statement to make.
Yeah.
Whose principles? Whose principles were hers not aligning with? You had to resign. And apart from that, for some people thought it was principals, PALS, which would mean other person. But then she in resigning on the question of violation or one of principle, she let me know that she still supported the Barbados Labour Party. She was sticking with the Barbados Labour Party. So I can only conclude that she resigned from the appointment from the Prime Minister, but her principal, but she still had principal association with the Barbados Labour Party, which is sticking. So I would think that the resignation of the principal had to be over Prime Minister Mottley for whatever reason. I'm just trying to talk on the logic and the practices and the precedents of the occasion. But most of all, was also the further content of the presentation to the public was when and how the Prime Minister dealt with Corey Lane. He said that he had asked to be relieved of his duties for personal reasons. That is what was written in the text. But if you listen to the broadcast, she talks about how it would not basically handicap the government or stymie the government, and should there be charges, charges. And where did that come from? She spoke in the printed statement. It mentioned personal reasons, but in the broadcast, the live broadcast, the recording, the verbalized one, she talked about his lead charges and thing. Actually, then reaffirmed his innocence. But that it made me raise further questions because having been admitted by his lawyer to have been with the police custody and questioned for 6 hours, it was felt that there would have to be something that was being dug for so deeply and so long. Not 60 minutes or 2 hours, 6 hours, that there might have been a question of follow-up action in the future. But the Prime Minister made that possible when she talked about not giving the government a free hand to deal with any charges that might be in the office. I'm paraphrasing it. So I am saying that the Prime Minister made a meal of that. And I think, like you said, I believe that her stepping down, her passing on the duty of delivering the budget to Minister Ryan, who has been the de facto, the day-by-day function Minister of Finance for the last almost 7 years, because the Prime Minister was not, is not, and has not been a trained economist. And if I flatter myself, I like to think that her decision to pass that duty on to Ryan might have been in response to a call I made in 2 articles I wrote in Sunday Sun in 2014. And I remember them very well because those were the last and only articles the nation had been prepared to carry me since then. And I said that Barbados, given what had happened with Minister of Finance,
Chris Sinclair.
Chris Sinclair, right? Another untrained economist, but he had been closer to economics because I'm sure I remember reading his master was in the political economy, which is related, but it is not economics. The Prime Minister, I'm not even sure that she ever did economics 101. But I maintain, having seen Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Tom Adams at work, I've seen Prime Minister Oinata closely at work in budget, how they manage the economy. Untrained people was put in Barbados at advantage. She would have to depend on other people's opinions, because she does not have like you're an accountant. When certain approach, immediately goes in your mind from your training. What if an alarm goes or what? You don't have to depend on 6 other accountants to tell what may be, and then you untrained have to depend with how do you decide on which one, on what basis. So I always felt that she should not have been. So I like that she has now, at last, having been faking it till she made it. She didn't make it. She's now conceding that she no longer has it. You understand?
But Mr. Murray, if I may just interject in this little segment here, in this last part of your segment, we have another 5 minutes. Just to say that I hear what you're saying, and if it's you, I wouldn't be surprised because you have good ideas. But I'm wondering, you talked about her being alpha male. and
Alpha
that's
female, alpha females.
alpha female. Oops, sorry,
Right.
alpha female. That's really a slip of the tongue. Um, and I listened to what what you said, what you had. I don't know if Dave could put that back on the screen, that slide about being alpha female. And I compared that with what I read about who Miss Piggy is. Because Miss Piggy, what you read there about I mean, Miss Piggy is the character, the cartoon character, Miss Piggy. And one of the things I noticed about Miss Piggy is that when Miss Piggy is angry, when Miss Piggy gets angry, she she loses it. There is no, she loses control. And so I was not surprised. That's just my take on it. I was not surprised that she would not do the, wasn't in any headspace. Do you see that picture that's there? She's looked really disheveled.
Yep.
She's not in the headspace to do a budget. She's so angry. That's what I think.
Apart from
But
that, she has not been in the country consistently. The estimates were largely prepared and handled by Ryan Son. Other prime ministers would never leave Barbados around the time of before or during the estimate. Other prime ministers and trained ministers of finance, trained economists were in Barbados to go through the numbers to form, because the estimates I want, but then you have to formulate in the context of Barbados economy, the Caribbean, the world. So it calls for more than just numbers. But so I don't think, given her commitments to carry calm and the rest of the world, she had enough time to be part. So she would only have to come and read what somebody gave to her
correct.
to read. And I don't think she had the time, the composure to do that. But I just like to say that when I look at the prime minister, can be said, having won two 30 loves, it
Mm-hmm.
can be said that she suffered from an embarrassment of riches as regard numbers 30 to an embarrassment of riches. It's like playing, when you get in poker, when you're playing poker, they say the best hand you can get in poker, or even dominoes, if you draw a perfect hand, right? You still then have to play that hand. It might be so good that you can play it badly. And I think that is what the prime minister has been badly playing these two royal flushes, these embarrassment of riches she's had in numbers. And I'd like to just end on this section by quoting a very well-known general in the American Army called General Omar Bradley. He
Yes, sir.
spoke, he spoke on the question of leadership, and he said that, I quote, the greatness of a leader is measured by the achievements of the led. The
Mm,
greatness of a leader is measured by the achievement of the led, not of the leader, of the led. This is the ultimate test of effective leadership. When you are judged by, and if one were to judge the effectiveness of her abundance and superabundance of members in the House of Assembly, it cannot be fairly said that she's been an effective leader of them.
wow.
She has
Miss,
not been able to
say
get out.
that again. Could you read the first? The effectiveness of a leader is
The, the,
determined,
the, the greatness of a leader,
the greatness.
yes, is measured by the achievements of the led, those who he leads or she leads. And it
Mm,
goes on. This is the ultimate test of an effective leader, not one who makes references, or not people who make references to the prime minister said, the prime minister said that the prime minister must do. No, it has to be measured about what those have delivered to the people on the ground, the constituents. Have they made their lives better? Have they performed in the ministries or whatever? Otherwise, it is a reflection on the effectiveness of the, just like in cricket, if the team consistently does badly, you have to look at the manager, have a look at the management, the selectors. They have to pay. They have to take some of the responsibility. Same thing with a political leader. That she has to be responsible for for the performance of those people she has been leading.
mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. We're seeing Miss Piggy in action. The alpha female
Already.
in action, as somebody said. You know what? Don't pull her weave. Don't pull her wheel and get her upset. You
Yes.
know, I wanted to read something from um, Senator Crystal Haynes, um, from her
A president.
page. Yeah, from
Okay.
her page. This is her Instagram page. And it says, this is, she wrote this a couple days ago. This is after she was removed. She says, almost 7 years ago, this photo was snapped by a photographer as I descended the steps of Parliament for the first time after giving my very first speech as a government senator. In many ways, my parliamentary journey was unexpected. I was adjusting to new motherhood with my son being just 5 months old. Number one. Number two, I was in the middle of a career pivot and hadn't yet decided how I would move forward. And three, I wasn't politically active and was not a member of any political party. When the call to serve came from Honorable Prime Minister Motley, it was truly out of the blue. She saw something in me then that I hadn't seen in myself. I reflect on my tenure, even as I relinquish my seat in the Senate, with a heart full of gratitude to the PM, to colleagues, and to everyone. And she goes on. But the first part of her post is interesting. A young person brought this to my attention. In her listing those three states that she was in, number one, she was adjusting to motherhood with her son just being 5 months old. She was in the middle of a career pivot. Three, she wasn't politically active and was not a member of any political party. And the young person said to me, Marcia, what this is saying is that really she was minding her own business. She didn't ask. She's trying to say, listen, I didn't ask for this position. Somebody sent and called me. I was busy doing these different things here. I was even part of your party. I wasn't involved in any politics. You saw something in me and you called me and asked me to serve. That's what she's trying to say. So
Well,
she's like, please, if you want to take
let,
it back, it's no problem. I didn't beg for it.
let me. That is why I'm glad you gave me a chance to add this. This one had slipped me in my notes. That is why it was. That is why what makes the selection of then senators so rude, so unnecessary, so punitive, so mean spirited, because there were other people in the Senate that could have, if you want to accommodate Chad Blackman, you could have taken out Senator, what's his name, Reverend Charles Morris. You could have taken out Pat Paris, who are two ordinary members and who do not have time on their side, like former senator. And who knows, she might have then fallen in line and joined a party because of her experience. But they could have given way. But I understand at one time she tried to replace one of them, and they broke down and cried and begged her to retain the pick. But the older ones could have done better, could have been made more available than Dr. Who has time, who has a lot to offer. That is why the Prime Minister would have picked her up. She'd have seen her potential. And of course, good leaders are always looking for potential replacements in cabinet, the party, candidates, etc. You're always thinking if you're on the board. So that might have been the motivation. But I'm saying
Tyrone
again,
Lewis. Yeah, repeat. Let me let you finish.
I'm saying another part of the poor judgment on the part, Santana should not have gone and did not have to go. There was no compulsion on the part of Prime Minister made her go. She had
Yes,
other options.
she did. They did. And Senator Haynes is saying, listen, I was in part of what you were doing. You called me. Now, Tyrone Lewis says here, as someone with a degree in political science, this is a compliment to you, Mr. Murray. I will listen to Mr. Murray all night. He used theories to back up his argument. He is still good for 80 plus. Yes.
Thank you. No, I also did political science at KFL, and I think I got either B plus or A. So thanks for the comment. So the lessons have been learned, and once you read and apply them, you're able to connect as you go along. So
Yes.
So thanks for the compliment. And
Yes.
for those who I know we start getting messages tomorrow that why don't you leave the Prime Minister alone? Or you don't like her, why you don't like her, why you hate her. I do not hate the Prime Minister. I do not dislike. There's nobody in the world that I do or have ever hated. Hating and disliking. consumes too much of your being.
Yes.
What I do, I have no respect for. So I do not waste or spend time. I do not. From my personal, and I've been dealing with the Prime Minister at one level now since 1985. I've worked with her in close associate, the greater part of that time. So I know her. So I'm not controlled or manipulated by the personal presentation, the front stage behavior to please the public, to impress. I've seen them in all kinds of situations. I've had my runnings with it, and at some point I'll tell you some of those runnings too.